Part 51. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 510. The next day, Lu Feng flew back to Suzhou with Feng Xiao and arrived at the factory at 11 a.m. In the private room on the second floor of the canteen, Lu Feng was sitting there eating, and Zhang Fengxia was sitting next to him, drinking with a bowl of porridge. Mr. Zhu will be back in a while. Mr. Lu has something to do, so he can come over after finishing it, Zhang Fengxia said. Liukan doesn't need to come here. Let him receive President Zhang and come up with a plan as soon as possible. How is the Dongguan factory? Lu Feng asked Zhang Fengxia. It's basically completed, the machine has been docked, and it's going through customs. The municipality over there is more anxious than us, and keeps urging. A group of employees has been recruited and training is underway. The scheduled time is March 1st to cut the ribbon. Do you want to attend? Zhang Fengxia looked at Lu Feng and said, the local municipal government wants you to attend. Lu Feng waved his hand and said, I'm busy like a spinning top. You can go to the ribbon cutting ceremony. Is there any problem with the factory manager over there? The factory manager is the original factory manager of this factory, and several deputy factory managers were dug from other large factories. Half of the backbone of the new factory area are from this factory area. They have been promoted, and some new management members have been promoted. At the same time, the factory area here is vacant, and a group of people will continue to be promoted. This kind of plan is the safest. We should focus on the cultivation of talents, especially the capable old employees. We must not let them go, and there should be no situation where others have been working for 2 or 3 years without moving. What time is Zhu Lidong's flight? Lu Feng asked. It's time to get off the plane now. Zhang Fengxia glanced at the watch on her wrist and said, I'll be back in an hour. Then come back to my office for a meeting, Lu Feng said and picked up his chopsticks. The time is too tight, please take it easy. After the new year, you have even stopped your feet. Zhang Fengxia brought a plate of dishes from a distance and placed it in front of Lu Feng, and said, take a nap. You occupied my room, why are you sleeping? Lu Feng glanced at her. I've moved out, you can go to bed. Zhang Fengxia rested her chin with one hand, watching Lu Feng eat, and there was an extra one on her index finger. Lu Feng stared at the ring and asked, have a boyfriend? Ah, Zhang Fengxia glanced at her hand before she could react, and said with a smile, yes, are you jealous? I'll let you grasp it, if you don't grasp it, do you regret it now? Very good, congratulations, dating can't affect work, you know, Lu Feng said seriously. Zhang Fengxia originally thought he would be unhappy. I didn't expect to worry about this, and I was instantly annoyed, and said, you are afraid that I will affect your work, right? After all, the company is in a special period and won't stop you from falling in love, but you have to worry about it. Lu Feng looked at her and said seriously, it will affect the company's development. Be careful that I won't give you face. You. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about 10 humming, 10 fingers with a ring on each. Zhang Fengxia said angrily, you are an old friend, right? Yes, I didn't say anything, I just said congratulations. Lu Feng looked at her in surprise and joked, you don't have time to talk about 10 things, I know you are busy, and you don't have time to sleep yourself. Talk about 10 more. It's because you're a good boss. I don't even have time to sleep, so I'm suitable for dating you. The two of them are busy all day long like crazy. Zhang Fengxia saw that he seemed to be serious, and hesitated. I didn't talk about it, where are you thinking? I was busy like a spinning top. I went to the gold shop for a stroll some time ago and thought it was good. I bought a pair and gave the other to Sister Xiao Yan. Lu Feng's mouth froze when he was eating, and he turned his face to look at her. What's wrong with me? I'm asking you something. Answer me honestly. Do you like short haircuts? Just dress up like a man. Lu Feng stared at her and asked. I think it's pretty cool. If you have a chance, you can try it out. What's wrong? Zhang Fengxia felt terrified when he saw it. Stay away from my wife in the future, Lu Feng warned, don't call when you are free. I called her several times and you were busy. Zhang Fengxia reacted to her speechlessness. She rolled her eyes and said, yes, I just want your money, your wife, and cheat your money and your wife. What are you thinking? The world is huge, and there are all kinds of surprises. Take precautions before they happen. Lu Feng was full, put down the tableware and said, I'm going to rest. Zhang Fengxia hurriedly stood up and hurriedly followed, and asked, Sister Xiao Yan said that this time the Chinese medicine doctor is very good, and I hope it is very big. Can you care about other things? It's my family's business. Lu Feng was very helpless. I'm not chatting with you, do you like a son or a daughter? It doesn't matter, it's mine, Lu Feng said and went downstairs. This person, no wonder Sister Xiao Yan said that you are sometimes unappealing when you talk. She hears this, and it's a ghost if she doesn't quarrel with you. Zhang Fengxia followed. Along the way, the two murmured, talking about some of the parents' short stories. After talking about Lu Feng's family, they talked about Zhang Fengxia's family urging marriage, and someone introduced them to someone, and she hung up after a few chats. For Zhang Fengxia, Lu Feng always hoped to stop at work and not to involve life, but Zhang Fengxia opened up Zhang Xiao Yan's path. Lu Feng didn't know about some family matters. In the eyes of the entire company, the relationship between Zhang Fengxia and Lu Feng is very unusual, and is called the strongest nepotism in private. Even at a meeting last year, someone who didn't agree with Zhang Fengxia directly patted the table and stood up, pointing at her nose and saying, you're just a sleeper, come here to command me. Zhang Fengxia is also sturdy. She said on the spot, if anyone can put President Lu on my bed, I will give him 1 million, and the management will naturally not be able to do it. In particular, the sales department was very dissatisfied with the internal management and slandered Zhang Fengxia a lot in private. Zhang Fengxia doesn't care at all. According to what she said, the old lady can do whatever she wants. She is frank and unrestrained. Tomorrow, she will be opened by Lu Feng because of her lack of ability. She is not short of food or drink. Had a good time. Back in the bedroom, Zhang Fengxia sat there muttering, and said that Lu Feng was asleep. This woman was usually very capable, and she did things quickly and resolutely, but now she is talking endlessly, and Lu Feng can only sigh. Women are all the same, but they are different on different occasions and in front of different people. When he woke up, it was already 2:30 in the afternoon. Zhu Lidong and Wei Yandan were already waiting in the office. Lu Feng walked out of the bedroom and sat down with some sleepy eyes. Everyone has worked hard during this time, so let's have a meeting now. Lu Feng rubbed his face, sobered himself up a bit, sat up straight and asked, how is the TV market recently? Although major companies have completed product iterations after the year, we have stopped the downward trend in terms of our vigorous promotion and market channel advantages. After the beginning of this year, the price of raw materials continued to fall, and the price of new materials was high, which is not bad at present. But the TV market hit a new high in February. This is a data report, and there are fluctuations in visualization. Zhu Lidong put a folder in front of Lu Feng. The speed of VIPTA's decline is relatively slow, but in the context of the market's surge, this is a major decline, but as expected, the entertainment company is progressing rapidly, and has signed 4 contracts, and there will be the first game in April. For the concert, call Swaya first to warm up the place. At the same time, we contacted several programs on CCTV, and started the incubation and training of actors. The list of the first batch of movies introduced has been confirmed, and they are all movies with very high box office, and there are many exclusive content in song tapes. Lu Feng was shocked when he read Wei Yandan's work results. She accomplished so many things in a short period of time, looked at Wei Yandan and said, it's been a long time. Fortunately, I live in the company and fly back and forth between Beijing and Shenzhen. I was busy at first, but it was also an opportunity for me to learn, Wei Yandan said indifferently. Zhang Fengxia sat there and glanced at Wei Yandan. It was the first time she felt pressure from another woman. Wei Yandan was not a genius, she was definitely a hard worker. She didn't understand many things, so she just relied on hard gnawing and hard learning. Since she took charge of the business department last year, she has changed from a chubby young woman to a skinny woman now. Things are not done in a day, the family still has to manage, Zhang Fengxia said to her. Don't drag yourself down, even the capital. I always feel that I have a strong heart. President Liu gave me the opportunity. I must grasp it well. As for the family, I can get a divorce, Wei Yandan said lightly. Lu Feng frowned secretly when he heard this, but he had seen a lot of this kind of thing in his last life. Some companies went crazy and even persuaded executives to divorce, so that they could stay busy with the company's affairs. It's a combination of work and rest. Overall, we've stabilized. Next, we'll look at the VCD. Lu Feng closed the report and looked at Zhu Lidong. In marketing, we must remember one point, that is the genuine product. Publicize this pain point. We are patent licensing. This point is very important. We need to tell consumers that we are authentic licensing. We are good. Others are imitation and pirated copies. If this publicity point cannot be pinned down, it will be devastating. Lu Feng looked towards he asked, you know what? Understand, advertising will highlight this point. My idea is to take the high-end route. After all, it is a new thing. The cost price will be high when it comes out, and the market price is high, so rich people will buy it. Once you become rich, it's a lot easier in terms of publicity. Zhu Lidong is very aware of the pain points of the market. Nowadays, people see that whatever the rich buy, they will follow the trend and buy whatever. This is the best publicity. Lu Feng waved his hand straight and said, this thing, the strategy is different. You can't just focus on the market, only on users, but also on competitors. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 511. Zhu Lidong was very confident in the market positioning of VCD. Because Lu Feng attached great importance to it, he did market research on home theater early. He has a very strong self-understanding of product positioning and marketing, so he said this in front of Lu Feng, but Lu Feng rejected him unexpectedly. This time Zhu Lidong began to feel a little confused. He instinctively felt that Lu Feng could not be wrong, which made him very unconfident. In terms of market positioning, we must first seize the genuine product and patent licensing. In the first mover stage, the brand must be established, and we must stand up and strike first. Second, the brand of VCD is the same as the previous home theater, which is called the Golden Leopard. In each province and city, with different content, we must learn to grasp the local content resources for scheduling. In addition to the content we introduced, the development of diversified content such as Uranswan, Urentai, Peking Opera, Opera, and Crosstalk should be guided locally. First, cooperate with a small recording studio in the local area, let these groups know about this cheap sales method, and stimulate the market to produce itself, but we can't meet the diversified needs of the market, understand? Zhu Lidong kept nodding, fumbling around, finding a notebook and starting to take notes. At the same time, we must start publicity work in entertainment. Lu Feng looked at Wei Yandan and said, this is the first time that industry and entertainment have cooperated. We should do a good job in fan guidance, market promotion, and advertising endorsements. It's the first time it hits the top, and people's first impressions are very important. I have been in contact with Mr. Zhu this week, in terms of brand, product, and market positioning, and come up with a plan as soon as possible, Wei Yandan replied. Now major companies are eyeing us, I need to get their internal information, especially in terms of market positioning and price. I will release about 1,000 units of the first batch of products, because the first batch of products, the buyers must be major companies, and they want to take it back and dismantle it. So the price of the first batch of products should be set high, and the first batch of products should be advertised. At the same time, there must be confusing loopholes in the design of the machine to buy us a certain amount of time. In short, the first batch of goods must be advertised. The effect is high, the price is high, and the news will definitely pay attention at that time, which is regarded as a wave of publicity. The people present laughed when they heard this, and President Liu began to dig holes for friends and businessmen again. We talked for an afternoon from the market, products, content discovery, advertising, estimated annual sales, profit points, etc. The sky outside was dim, and Zhu Lidong's notebook was already densely packed with memories. Feng Xiao sat beside him and yawned. He had to admit that Lu Feng had a very good brain. There were so many things, and the various departments talked endlessly in the afternoon, and the rich content covered made him feel ashamed. How about finances? Lu Feng asked the financial manager. At present, the loss is relatively large, mainly because of the large expenditure at the beginning of the year. Since January, the sales volume of Vipta has stopped falling, and the gross profit has dropped further. This month, Vipta's loss is about 4 million, which is equal to the balance. But the expenditures in other areas are too large, and the loss is expected to be around 150 million this year. If VCD can make a profit and make up for the losses, the accounts at the end of the year will look a lot better. As long as there are no major problems this year, there will be no problems with the operation of the company. The financial manager suddenly thought of something, and said to Lu Feng, "The premise is that Mr. Lu, you don't toast. I didn't bother, you see what you said, you are in charge of the money, I give you the money I get, and you give me the money." Lu Feng teased with both hands. The scene burst into laughter, and the old financial manager had a wry smile on his face. Only the financial officer knew what it was like to be such an old man. This is the statement. The R/U0026D company is 100 million yuan, the VCD company has spent 50 million yuan, the entertainment company, the construction of the new factory, the amount of debt, the profit of various products this year, and the expenditure on market development. The expenditure form is very long, as many as 5 pages, followed by the usage of various expenditures. Lu Feng's expansion was too fast. I estimate that this year's turnover may exceed 1 billion yuan, the financial manager said with a slap in the face. In the private enterprises in the country, such a high turnover is one of the largest companies. Lu Feng flipped through the statement, followed by the debt situation, and then flipped back to see that someone owed him money, and exclaimed, "What's the situation with this 18 million debt? This is an account transfer." Last year, a group of companies purchased TVs directly. It was a coal company that made internal purchases for the family's house. At that time, it was because of the decline in sales. The financial manager looked at Zhu Lidong as he spoke. "I did this thing. The other party is a state-owned enterprise. Not only one purchase, but several purchases, and the amount is relatively large. Because of the problem of capital turnover, a public-to-public account was made. It's been a few months, and the money hasn't come back yet," Lu Feng asked Zhu Lidong. Zhu Lidong said with an embarrassed look on his face, "I urged them many times, and kept saying that I would go through the process, because I believed them, but I didn't expect to transfer the account. Another state-owned enterprise owed them money, so the account was transferred to them. Now if you hold the IOU, you will definitely be able to get it back, but now the triangular debt is more fierce." Looking at the money, Lu Feng sighed and said to Zhu Lidong, "You've been by my old hunter's side for so long, yet let the old fox play with you. What do you think? I'll tell you a lot in meetings. Now is the era of cash is king, and the decline in product sales is the most prone to this problem. I think about shipping all day long, but in the end, the goods are shipped out, and the money can't be recovered. Isn't there enough bloody cases? Zhu Lidong lowered his head, and he was under great pressure when sales fell, so he could ship as much as he could. Mr. Lu, I will definitely get the money back, Zhu Lidong assured. Lu Feng didn't say anything. He was thinking about the madness of the triangular debt, which once hindered the development of the economy. It was commonly known as playing white bills. Transfer the debt to a third party and ask for it yourself. Lu Feng glanced at the time. It was already 7 o'clock in the evening. He stood up and said, "That's it, let's go eat." Everything started to speed up. Mr. Zhang went to the R/U0026D company with the drawings. In 3 days, the R/U0026D company finalized the plan and started trial production. The Golden Leopard VCD company was registered and established with a registered gold of 50 million yuan, and GFN Electronics held 5%. 10. Zhang Wanmen controls 50% of the shares. The 50% of the dry shares are patented shares, only the right to dividends, and no right to participate in the management of the company. GFN Electronics has come to this day, with more than 20 subsidiaries under his name, but Lu Feng still has no interest in forming a group company. Because most of these companies are tax-free, the advantage of establishing a group company is unified management and unified reporting of account funds. For example, 2 factories under GFN Electronics, one of which earned 10 million this year, needs to pay 2 million in tax, the other factory lost 10 million and does not need to pay taxes. If there is no tax-free policy, a group company is formed, the financial management is unified, and all the funds are collected at the group headquarters. Here, it earns 10 million yuan and loses 10 million yuan there. 2 million tax avoidance. The VCD industry is definitely a big show for the new year. There is a lot of talk in the outside world. There are more people who want to interview Lu Feng, but they are all blocked by Zhang Fengxia. With the completion of the factory in Dongguan, Zhang Fengxia attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Zhu Lidong began to investigate the sales market prospects of VCD in the market channel, and Wei Yandan seized the time to make arrangements for entertainment endorsements. Lu Feng was busy, and Deputy Mayor Lu called him one after another, asking him what he meant and asking him to help. As a result, the matter had already settled down. Why did he have no news? Zhang Xiaoyan called. She finished a course of treatment, and Duoduo will start school soon. She has booked a flight ticket and will return to Shenzhen tomorrow. At the same time, Lu Cheng called and said that the overall design of the VCD has been completed, and it is currently in the test adjustment stage, so he wants Lu Feng to take a look. Deputy Mayor Lu kept calling, and Lu Feng knew that it was time for him to go back to Shenzhen. The news of the imminent implementation of the VCD project keeps coming, and people in the industry are getting more and more nervous. During this period, the frequency of calls is getting higher and higher. Many companies have sent people to live in Suzhou and Shenzhen, requesting to snap up the first batch of GFN Electronics when it comes out. Take things back, take a look at them apart, and measure them with a ruler. They have a way. Don't doubt the copying ability of current manufacturers. Their take-a-look ability has terrified the whole world. Liukin said in an interview that the internal itinerary and the estimated time for the first batch of products to go offline are scheduled for March 10. Mr. Zheng was sitting in the office smoking a cigarette and looking at the newspaper in front of him. 6 or 7 executives were sitting opposite. Everyone was very quiet. After the new year, everyone was waiting for the fierce battle of small appliances. They all held their breath and prepared to fight, but they have not done it until now. It is just a small friction in the terminal market. Compared with the intensity of last summer, it is not worth mentioning. On March 10, the market decline of Vipta has stopped, and Lu Feng's rear is basically stable. He just wants to use VCD to penetrate the market and start a game-breaking battle. If he loses this one, GFN Electronics is really useless. I don't think he can win. The investment of 50 million yuan is too high. Once the market does not adapt, there will be big problems, an executive thought. A hero or a bear, I'll know in a few days, I can feel it. How many small and medium-sized enterprises will die in this battle, but there will be more small and medium-sized enterprises springing up like mushrooms after a rain. For me, this is an opportunity. Mr. Zhang closed his eyes, reached out to touch the pendant on his chest, and muttered, "Bless the Buddha." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 512. The chief executives of the electronics industry all understand the predicament of GFN Electronics. Now GFN Electronics is like a person who is hanging on the edge of a cliff and climbing up. VCD is a focal point. Lu Feng wants to use this focal point to climb up, but in this fierce market competition, who would let such a company go ashore? This is a piece of fat. As for what friendships you had in the past, all of them have vanished into nothing at the moment. How many of you are soft-hearted in your current position? Mr. Zhang's eyes were already red, let alone other people. Hey, Mr. Li? My TCL General Manager, Xiao Ho, our family's Mr. Li is very interested in GFN Electronics, especially the sales channels of GFN Electronics. At this critical moment, it can't be better. Li Quanliang laughed, leaned on the chair, and took the phone. Today there are a lot of people looking for me, and they all want to kill GFN Electronics first. Last year, so many small and medium-sized enterprises went bankrupt. I didn't expect such a good show to start this year. He can't hold it anymore. Our idea is to let go of the competition in the terminal market between us first. Now is the off-season, and we will focus on the VCD industry of GFN Electronics. It's easy to talk, there are many like-minded people on this road. Li Quanliang was constantly on the phone, and companies with a little face in the market basically called, and even Panda Electronics called, expressing whether they should let go of market competition in this off-season and besiege GFN Electronics. In this kind of enterprise retention market competition, survival is the winner. Whenever one more enterprise falls and is eaten by other enterprises, it means that there is an extra market and resources. The winner is king, and the leftover is king. Some people are eyeing the sales channels of GFN Electronics, some people are eyeing the factory building, some people are eyeing the R/U0026D company, and some people are eyeing Zhu Lidong and other executives. Everyone gets what they need. A verbal agreement was made on the phone. Isn't GFN Electronics VCD listed on March 10, so the off-season in March is set as the day to strangle the VCD. Once the VCD fails, GFN Electronics will collapse immediately. Capital shows its fangs. Lu Feng got off the plane first. Zhang Xiaoyan arrived an hour later than his plane. Lu Feng was waiting in the pickup area, and a large number of people left. Duo found Lu Feng in the crowd, shouting that his father ran over. Zhang Xiaoyan's skin looked fairer, and she lost weight. It must have been because of her poor appetite due to taking medicine. When she saw Lu Feng, she smiled involuntarily. "What time is your flight?" Zhang Xiaoyan came over and asked. "An hour before you, let's go home first." "Dad hug." Duo opened his hands. "Such a big child, stop hugging, the weather is so hot." Lu Feng waved his hand and refused many requests. Today's weather in Shenzhen is over 20 degrees, and it feels like summer. It's not good to pout a lot. She knew that when her father got off the plane and hugged her when he returned to his hometown, he was just to keep warm. The company's car was waiting outside, and when they returned to the villa, Zhang Xiaoyan put on a long dress, took out a lot of traditional Chinese medicine from her bag, and muttered while packing up the house. I won't go back, the school will start the day after tomorrow, and Huasha will also design new products. Zhang Xiaoyan dragged the ground, and the mop reached Lu Feng's feet. Lift your feet. Lu Feng raised his foot and said, just say you find a nanny. I just like to work, can't you? How many days will you be back? Zhang Xiaoyan asked draggingly. I'm destined to be too busy to find Bei this year. Lu Feng sighed and said, my life is bitter. I asked for it myself. I don't have enough money to spend, or I don't have enough sleep. When I do GMA food, I feel that I can settle down, and it's good to be busy. The two chatted for a while, called Lu Cheng in the afternoon, arranged the matter for tomorrow, and discussed with Deputy Mayor Lu to meet tomorrow. In the evening, Zhang Xiaoyan was busy in the kitchen, and came out to scold Lu Feng. By the way, I don't know how many people have this kind of life staged. You can only feel the dull beauty after seeing the prosperity. After dinner, Lu Feng leaned on the sofa and talked about the company. Zhang Xiaoyan had a basic understanding of the operation of some companies, and the two of them had a conversation. Duo was already old and started to go to sleep in his room. After 9 o'clock in the evening, Zhang Xiaoyan drank the medicine, and the two went to bed. After turning off the light, Lu Feng rubbed against her. Feeling his approach, Zhang Xiaoyan couldn't help laughing. She turned and hugged him. After a while, Zhang Xiaoyan suddenly said in the dark, no way. Why? The old doctor said no, now it's a conditioning period, and it won't work within 3 courses of treatment. Zhang Xiaoyan refused. Lu Feng lay down and was speechless. He put his hands under his head and sighed, close the mountains and cultivate forests. You, for the future. Zhang Xiaoyan leaned on him and said, go to sleep, don't think too much, close your eyes and fall asleep in a while. How long are the 3 courses of treatment? Lu Feng asked. It's estimated to be summer, I've just started the 2nd course of treatment. June or July? Zhang Xiaoyan asked uncertainly. Hearing this time, Lu Feng exclaimed, for so long? This is not about closing the mountains to cultivate forests, this is about turning into a virgin forest. Go to yours. Zhang Xiaoyan slapped him and joked, I can't help but go to Fengxia. I told her that mine is hers, and hers is mine. Lu Feng was very speechless, and hurriedly persuaded her not to be so close to Zhang Fengxia. Some jokes were not allowed. The two chatted a lot and fell into a drowsy sleep. Early the next morning, Zhang Xiaoyan urged him to do more winter vacation homework. The little guy cried while writing, while Lu Feng watched the excitement for a while and drove to the company. In the conference room of the Research and Development Company, 3 VCDs were placed on the table, and there was a Wipita TV directly opposite, and a group of technical engineers sat on both sides. I will now demonstrate the connection between VCD and Wipita TV. A particularly high-end engineer picked up various connectors and introduced them, including the materials used, price, technology, etc. If one day someone picks up the VCD connector and talks to you, you will also feel very bored. Lu Feng interrupted, put it in, put a disk and see, don't introduce it. The executive plugged in the line, put a disk in after booting, and the first thing that appeared was a blank space for about 30 seconds. This period of time is the data reading time, and it takes up to 1 minute. Lu Cheng introduced. Don't mess with this program. People who don't know think it's broken. You know it's data reading. People don't know. How many times have I said it? Seconds, tell you, a bunch of returned goods. Lu Feng frowned. This problem will be corrected immediately, today, Lu Cheng said hurriedly. This data reading time, you set up a simple program and type the product logo on it. When people look at static affairs, they will be very impatient. For a simple example, if you go to the toilet for a few minutes, do you think it is very long? Lu Feng asked the crowd. Everyone nodded, thinking to themselves, Mr. Lu still has some research on going to the toilet. This is a psychological problem. The user definitely wants to get it as soon as possible, and he doesn't know how long it will take, so he has to give him hope, mark the product, scroll back and forth, the screen needs to move, and then make align words, write wonderful and present immediately, followed by a string of dynamic ellipses, indicating that things are going on. Lu Feng ordered. Liukan hurriedly wrote it down, and kept saying, change it immediately, change it overnight, and work overtime to change it. After the picture appeared, it was a comedy by Chaplin. The texture of the whole picture was still very good. It was much clearer than the videotape, and the machine operated more smoothly and the sound was smaller. Can't you fast forward? Lu Feng asked. No, if you need to fast forward, you need to speed up the data reading speed, and the machine synthesis motherboard needs to have faster calculation. Mr. Zhang told us that the next research and development direction is to speed up the reading speed, and at the same time study the technology of compression and analysis, to be able to carry more content. This technology is not difficult at present, but it will take time. Lu Feng remembered that the DVD came out a few years ago, and the content of the CD-ROM was very impressive. After watching it for a long time, there was no problem. The exterior design is mainly black, and there are red-black, blue-black color matching. In order to reduce the cost, the shells are all plastic. To tell the truth, Lu Feng looked at the manufacturing process of the first generation VCD from the perspective of more than 20 years later, which can only be said to be shoddy. There is no texture, some seams can be stuffed with a needle, and when you squeeze it with your hands, it is creaking. It is this kind of rubbish in Lu Feng's eyes. More than 90% of the private enterprises in China can't do it. Being able to make Lu Feng barely glance at it is already the pinnacle of manufacturing in the industry, and it itself represents the word quality. What's the cost of a single product? Lu Feng asked. Because many materials are high-end materials, especially the motherboard, which uses integrated circuits, this is very expensive. The cost price of a single product is 3,500. If it can achieve shipments of more than 100,000 units, it is estimated that it can be reduced to 3 billion units, can be reduced by a few $100s. This doesn't even count the cost of the patent right. If half of the 50 million patent right licensing fee is evenly distributed and calculated based on the sales volume of 100,000 units, the cost of each unit will increase by 250 yuan, plus the shipping fee. The dealer's profit, various losses, and a rough estimate, the terminal market price is 5,000 yuan, that is, there is no profit or loss. The cost price is only 5,000, no wonder the price has soared to 7,000 or 8,000 just after the listing in the last life. Lu Feng leaned back on the chair and counted, and asked, with the annual sales target of 5 million units, and the terminal hitting about 3,000 yuan, is there any profit point? $3,000. This price is too low, and it is easy to not recover the cost. If 5 million units can be sold, this price should be no problem, Lu Cheng pondered. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 513. After discussing the price for a long time, Lu Feng asked them to disassemble the machine and read it again. Holding the motherboard and looking at it for a while, Lu Feng asked, "Can you do something about this?" "What article?" Lu Cheng asked in confusion. "This motherboard is disassembled, and they will be able to draw a circuit diagram in a day. Various circuit strengths, voltages, drivers, etc., can basically be fixed in less than a week." Lu Feng slammed his mouth. Asked, "Can you change it a little bit, just start using it normally, but the service life is greatly reduced, for example, it will break after a few days of use." "This is okay. The circuit strength is weakened, and the voltage protection is weakened. Once the voltage is unstable, the motherboard will be burned," Lu Cheng suggested. After Lu Feng spoke, he leaned back in his chair and pondered. The other side was also a big company, and there were engineers who were stronger than himself. This kind of line could be understood at a glance. The other side was not a fool, and the obvious flaws could be seen at a glance. If those companies are pirating, they must compete at low prices. If they want low prices, they must cut costs. Lu Feng not only needs to think of his own, but also predicts what the other party will think. What kind of reduction to do? Liukan's senior executives stared at each other with big eyes and small eyes. President Lu sat there without saying a word, and he looked like he had written the words old and treacherous on his face. After a long time, Lu Feng laughed and whispered towards Lu Chang, in some key positions, using the just qualified line, strength is barely qualified, as long as the strength is a little less, the service life will be greatly reduced, and the first batch of products will be produced according to this, 1,000 units. Although Lu Cheng didn't know what Lu Feng wanted to do, he could see that he had his own intentions. He nodded and said, when it's time to go to the production line for guidance, just follow this. Then let's do this first. Lu Feng glanced at the time, stood up and said, change the waiting time for data reading first, and let's end the meeting. After the meeting was over, Lu Feng drove to the municipal administration and saw Deputy Mayor Lu again. The other party was very excited. He came up with a big hug, looked at Lu Feng and said, Mr. Lu has lost weight. You've been busy lately, but you've gained a lot of weight. You've been really busy lately, if I hadn't given you a talk earlier. Go to the office and talk. Deputy Mayor Lu walked towards the office. After entering the office, I made a pot of tea, and after sitting down, Deputy Mayor Lu asked hopefully, I heard that this VCD has set a production date? Didn't he say? I came here to get it. Why did I get another industrial base there? That's a FACE project, and the local municipal government also needs FACE, Lu Feng explained. It's like this. If you come here to produce, the machine workshop will be satisfied. We will find it for you and rent it for you. What do you think? Deputy Mayor Lu asked straight to the point. I want to come too. I really want to come. I felt sorry for you last time. The problem is that they gave money from Dongguan, Lu Feng said embarrassedly, I can't refuse. The smile on Vice Mayor Liu's face gradually disappeared. Oh well, in his opinion, Lu Feng's face was not embarrassed, but two big characters, give money. How much is it for you? There is a lot of money to keep you there, Deputy Mayor Lu said in a deep voice, don't listen to them, the money is yours when you have it. In some places, there is no money, and it is all about saving money. If you are an entrepreneur, you must have a long-term vision for development. I know, they have given another 30 million interest-free loans, otherwise, how about you, add 20 million, I'll move in, I really don't have any options now, they've contributed money, I turned my head and left, who have you become, Lu Feng wondered. Enterprise development still requires a long-term vision. You know this place is the only one in the country, and your R/U0026D company is also here, so it is convenient to go back and forth. Vice Mayor Lu took a sip of tea and said, Mr. Lu, you can't just covet a little. Petty cheap, ruining the future of the business. I know that it is convenient for the R/U0026D company to go to the factory. The problem is that it is not far from Dongguan. Don't you all belong to one province? Lu Feng wondered. Who is in the same province as him? Deputy Mayor Lu was a little anxious. Aren't they all in Guangdong? This is Shenzhen, this is the window to the outside world, the special area. If you call the mayor there, I am one level higher than him. Deputy Mayor Lu said earnestly to Lu Feng, this is the difference, small places are small place, the word rises, you should know. Lu Feng doesn't know anything else, but now that he sees it, he just doesn't want to pay. I'm also embarrassed, or I'll take a look again, if there is a chance, let's talk again. Don't hesitate, the two of us have known each other for so long, and you have failed to accomplish one thing. It will only be good and not bad. I promise you, Deputy Mayor Lu said firmly. Lu Feng believed him to be a ghost. He was the deputy mayor in charge of commerce. If he said something bad, he was pulling people's heads. After he was pulled in, he handed over to other deputy mayors to deal with. Before he came, he was Xiao Tian. Maybe not even MRS Niu. I'll think about it, but I still want to thank you. I have a meeting over there. Lu Feng kept looking at his watch, stood up and said a few polite words before wanting to leave. Deputy Mayor Lu sent it out, and he talked about how good it is to come here. What exporting overseas, contacting foreign capital, and various preferential treatments are not better than the interest-free loan of 30 million yuan. Lu Feng only nodded his head all the way, and finally got into the car and drove away. After returning home in the afternoon, I called Zhang Fengxia and asked the accounting department to calculate the profit and cost of VCD. Zhang Xiaoyan went to the factory and sat there by herself to do her homework, raising her head to glance at Lu Feng from time to time. Don't look at me, write your own homework, Lu Feng said to her. Dad, my dear dad, I have some questions that I can't write. The little guy came over with the workbook, put it in front of Lu Feng and said, can you teach me? Which question can't you write? Lu Feng asked. Apart from this, I can't write. The little guy pointed to a question with addition and subtraction within 10. I spent so much money to send you to school. Even a mentally retarded person shouldn't have learned this. Lu Feng pinched her cheek and said, don't play tricks with me, write it yourself, or the teacher will beat you. Duo looked at the question above, and his big eyes became foggy. Lu Feng knew that she had this problem, so he stood up and went upstairs, thinking that there was no news from Su Yurong for a while, so he called her. Hello, who is it? The voice on the other end of the phone seemed to return to the previous Su Yurong. I'm Lu Feng. You actually called me. I was thinking of calling you tonight. My project team here is ready to invest. You need to send some people to contact you, and they will be there in the near future. Su Yurong has a business-like tone. Okay, I'll arrange someone to contact you. Has the bank got through? Lu Feng asked. No problem, we are professional, don't worry, and we are very confident in your future development, Su Yurong said very officially. I see, hang up, Lu Feng said and hung up the phone. Dad! Dad! Duo ran up with the homework book and shouted loudly, an uncle called you and said it was your brother. Hurry up and do your homework, don't worry about it so much. Lu Feng stood up and walked downstairs. Picked up the phone and said, who is it? Mr. Lu, it's me. Mr. Zheng's voice came from the other end of the phone, and the other party said, Mr. Lu, VCD is in your hands now, and it's time to sweep the market. Brother, I sincerely bless you, you are a capable person after all, and people like us are incomparable. Lu Feng was slightly taken aback when he heard this, and said, Mr. Zheng, you are a little too exaggerated. I dare not say sweeping, it seems too crazy, at best it is effortless. Mr. Zheng originally wanted to flatter him, but he didn't expect that he had swelled to this level before he could do it, and he was secretly happy. In the future in the electronics industry, you will still have to mix with Mr. Lu. There is a saying that you should never forget about wealth and honor. Mr. Lu can't forget brother and me. Listening to the enthusiasm of the other party, Lu Feng suddenly felt that Mr. Zheng was a bit interesting, and he could do something about him. Just relying on the first batch of machines is not necessarily reliable, and double insurance is needed. Mr. Zheng has a temperament that puts his teammates ahead. Ha 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 ha. Lu Feng laughed and said, brothers, why are you being polite? I know that many people in the market are staring at me recently, which means you are sincere. In fact, the first batch of VCD test products have been produced, and after a while the first batch of products was officially sold to the outside world. Really? Is the product good? Mr. Zheng asked hurriedly. I don't know how many times better than videotapes. New technology, can you tell me it's good? I'll take you to see it when I have time. It will open your eyes. Lu Feng looked like a dazzling treasure. This is not good, this is a business secret. Who is our brother? I'm just letting you see it a few days earlier. I'll talk about it when I'm free. Lu Feng was sloppy. I'm so sorry, my brothers are not allowed to see such a core industry, and I'm not that kind of cheeky person, so what day will it be? Mr. Zheng asked. For it. I'm free tomorrow, I can do it now. Mr. Zheng was impatient, pondered for a moment, and laughed, just kidding with you. Then tomorrow. No problem, I can take someone there. I have a brother who is very fascinated by these things. Don't worry, he just likes it. He doesn't understand circuits, nor is he an engineer. It's a shame to say this, it's all right, who are we and who? Lu Feng was polite for a long time, hung up the phone, and immediately called Lu Cheng and asked him to instruct the factory overnight to produce a few prototypes with traps. Zheng Zhong called Zhong Li happily. This was no longer a business competition. He felt like a spy who broke into the enemy's interior and staged an eavesdropping situation. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 514. Mr. Zheng communicated with Li Quanliang immediately and told him the news. Li Quanliang was very excited after hearing it. Mr. Zheng, you really have the means. For the market, time is money. The faster the production, the faster the market can be captured. This time, you will bring an engineer, Mr. Li said excitedly. Don't worry, do you want to talk to TCL's president Ho, Panda, Konka and other companies? President Zheng asked. Let's not talk about this, Mr. Zheng, the relationship between us is not the same as those of those companies, you understand. Li Quanliang sold off, he knew what Mr. Zheng wanted, and said, when the time comes, Jiafeng, if electronics really fall, do you have the money to buy it? I don't have that much cash, so I've been worried about this for a while. Mr. Zheng sighed as he spoke. I can embezzle it for you. When you mortgage the factory to me, I can give you low interest. If there is a policy, interest-free is also fine. It's all my own family. It's easy to say. Really? Thank you so much, brother. Li Changhong is in your hands, and I don't know how much more glorious it is than before. Mr. Zheng hurriedly flattered. The two chatted for a while, basically focusing on how to destroy the VCD of Jiafeng Electronics. In this case, these two companies became the core companies, and the other companies were placed on the periphery. Communicate for a while, and then confirm whether to notify other companies. After hanging up the phone, Mr. Li leaned on the chair and hummed Shaijia Bang, thinking in his heart, Mr. Zheng's industry is not big, but his heart is not small. He wants to swallow Jiafeng Electronics. Swallow the elephant. If it goes according to the plan, Mr. Li does not want to bring down a Lu Feng and get up another Mr. Zheng. Changhong's technical shortcomings in small household appliances are still relatively large. If Mr. Zheng and Lu Feng are swallowed together, in the days to come, the position of the industry leader will be very secure. The more President Li thought about it, the happier he was. He couldn't help grinning, and said to himself, the company is developing so well, will it be promoted in a few years? Now the CEOs of state-owned enterprises have all gone to important positions. The more Mr. Li thinks, the more beautiful his heart is, and he doesn't want to talk about his happiness anymore. He feels that his life is bright. Everyone has their own calculations. There is a saying that is good. You are eyeing others' high returns, and others are eyeing your principal. The accounts placed in front of everyone are particularly cost-effective. Early the next morning, Zhang Xiaoyan sent Duo to school. The little guy made up his homework overnight, and he finally finished it. After 9 o'clock in the morning, Liukan called and said that 3 VCDs had been produced, but yesterday's meeting said that there are still areas that need to be optimized. Did not make it? Lu Feng told them not to move. Picked up the phone and called Mr. Zheng. Hey, Mr. Zheng, it's me, Lu Feng, what are you doing? Lu Feng asked with a smile, with the word happy written all over his face. Just had a meeting, what happened? Didn't you say you wanted to watch VCD yesterday? Today I happened to go to the R/U0026D company, let's have a look together, and then have lunch, how about it? Lu Feng asked. So soon, Mr. Zheng was overjoyed. He thought that Lu Feng would shirk for 2 days, but he didn't expect to be so active, so he hurriedly said, no problem, where will we meet? I'll be there soon. It's right at the door of the R/U0026D company, didn't you mean to bring friends? Lu Feng asked. I just feel embarrassed. He is interested in such an important matter. It's a commercial secret, Mr. Zheng said politely. It's all my own brothers. If it's secret or not, you must bring your friends. I'll definitely give you Brother Zio's face today, do you know? Okay, absolutely fine. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng changed into a suit and drove to the R/U0026D company. After waiting downstairs for a few minutes, Mr. Zheng's car stopped at the door. Why does Mr. Lu receive the reception in person? Just arrange for a security guard to point the way here. Mr. Zheng got out of the car, followed by a man in his 40s, bald, wearing a casual shirt and a pair of tall glasses. The appearance and dress of this buddy have literally written the words engineer on his face. Let me introduce, this is my friend, who makes building materials at home, that is called He Tian, this is the CEO of GFN Electronics, Mr. Lu. Mr. Zheng introduced. Mr. Zheng's trick is too familiar to Lu Feng. Looking at his slightly stiff face, erratic eyes, and clenching his hands nervously, it is enough to fool ordinary people. For Lu Feng, who pays more attention to details, he is still a little immature. Hello, welcome and welcome. Lu Feng shook hands with the other party. After a few words of courtesy, he went upstairs. Lu Feng kept talking to He Tian about how good his relationship with Mr. Zheng was. As long as Mr. Zheng needed it, it didn't matter to him except his wife and children. Mr. Lu, are you ready? Lu Feng opened Liuken's office and asked. Okay, you can go now. Lu Cheng stood up and instructed the people around him. After walking out the door, he introduced each other and walked towards the conference room. There are 3 VCDs on the table in the conference room. One is assembled and the other 2 have been disassembled. Lu Feng introduced, this is the VCD. Such a small thing, Mr. Zheng stared at it with wide eyes. It was the first time he saw it, and he was very curious. Just look at it, it cost me 50 million yuan. Lu Feng sat down on the conference table with half-ass, showing off, I tell you, it's just such a thing, this year will be sweep the market, and don't expect to sell videotapes in the future. The new technology is amazing. Isn't this thing very expensive? The high cost is scary, right? Mr. Zheng inquired, putting his hand behind his back and waving at He Tian, motioning him to look quickly. This is a new thing, the materials are very expensive, but we have a way to save money. If we need to save the materials on the motherboard, we have to save it. Lu Feng took the motherboard and glanced at it, suddenly frowned, and asked Lu Cheng. Said, didn't these circuit lines tell you, they don't need to be so thick, why haven't they been changed? It's too late, it's time for mass production, and the drawings have already been changed. Lu Cheng replied. Look, this circuit wire is thinner, and this one. I tell you, this material is very expensive. With just a few circuit wires, each unit can save more than 10 yuan. Lu Feng Chao, as Mr. Zheng said, don't underestimate these 10 yuan, save a little here, save a little that, and a machine will have a space of hundreds of yuan to be squeezed out. Hundreds of dollars. That's a big number for a product. The contract carefully observed the things on the motherboard and asked, "Mr. Liu, these lines can't be changed. These are the main circuits. They are too thin, and they can easily burn if they can't carry the current. Look, you don't understand. There is no machine that doesn't break. You said that you bought this thing, how long do you plan to use it? It will last for a lifetime. It's impossible, there will be no problem in 3 or 5 years. We have done a power-on test, even if the voltage is not stable, and it can withstand it, but the problem is that after 3 or 5 years, it is easy to have problems with aging. It's of good quality in 3 or 5 years, and it's not bad. Who buys a new one?" Mr. Zheng understood the business skills and smiled at Lu Feng. "Look, you can see, Mr. Zheng is a big businessman and knows the way." Lu Feng pointed at Lu Cheng and said, "Put the VCD on the TV and show it to Mr. Zheng." The staff connected the VCD, put it in the disc, and the TV showed a white flower. "What's wrong? Is it broken?" Mr. Zheng asked, leaning his neck. "This is normal. It takes time for the machine to start up. The white ones are not good looking. I have already made them change to a blue background. I tell you, don't make too many changes in this place, just to make users wait. There is a profound psychology in it," Lu Feng said to Mr. Zheng with a showy face. "Psychology? Do you still understand this?" Mr. Zheng said in surprise. After reading 2 idle books, a team of experts from the University of Florida conducted a social survey experiment in the 1970s, and they found a phenomenon that the faster you gain, the faster you lose, which is almost proportional. You can't let the user get it easily. When he waits for this time, he likes this machine, Lu Feng said very mysteriously. "I still think it's better to hurry up, I like to be fast," Mr. Zheng said unsatisfactorily. "The key is that this thing is a defect and cannot be ruled out. The other things don't matter. The main thing is to look at the circuit board. Isn't it suitable?" Mr. Zheng couldn't help laughing when he spoke, and declined, "There's nothing inappropriate. Who are we and who? Say, if Mr. Zheng doesn't understand, give him the drawings. Let him take it back and study it slowly." Liuchen basically told the truth about the core technology. He Tian listened and nodded non-stop. If they were not so honest, He Tian definitely thought that the reduction of those lines was to bury minds. Because many foreign machines are like this, when they are imported, they find that they are different from local products. They can only be used and cannot be disassembled. Even many lines are deliberately bent, just to confuse local engineers who want to copy. But Lu Feng is so sincere, he can be sure that those lines can be reduced. If they copy it, in order to compete for the time to market, there is no time to do long-term circuit tests, and he can only trust the original factory. Although Mr. Zheng said he wanted to come and see, but when he listened more carefully than anyone else. If there was something he didn't understand, he had to ask questions. He made Lu Cheng look at Lu Feng frequently. "This technology costs money. Bought." After studying until 12 noon, Lu Feng invited a guest to dinner, went to a restaurant next door, and ordered a table of dishes. Mr. Zheng picked up the glass of wine and looked at Lu Feng's smile. His eyes were almost gone. He opened his mouth and shut his mouth as good brothers. After 2 glasses of wine, he hugged Lu Feng's shoulder. "Mr. Lu, I've been in the business for many years. To tell the truth, people these days have no words in their mouths. What kind of brotherhood? Just turn around and sell you are different, you make me believe, the world is real. I respect you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 515. The two drank it all in one go, and the meal was very happy. Mr. Zheng called him brothers in various ways, and also preached about the cooperation between GFN Electronics and Desheng and Dijin. Lu Feng repeatedly promised that as long as GFN Electronics took a breath, it would definitely cooperate. Lu Feng hadn't been drinking for a while. He went down a half bottle of white wine and went down a little bit. He went out of the private room to call Lu Cheng and asked him to tell Feng Xiao to come and drive for him. Half an hour later, Feng Xiao entered the private room and saw Lu Feng and Mr. Zheng hugging each other, and those who didn't know thought they had some passion. He is also a wealthy young master, but he was called to be a driver in the middle of the night. Come here, Mr. Zheng, just drink here. The green hills will not change and the green water will flow forever. There will be many days when we look up and don't look down. Lu Feng stood up and grabbed Mr. Zheng's hand with extra sincerity. Mr. Lu, do you believe it or not? I treat you like a real brother. Mr. Zheng looked a little drunk, stared straight at Lu Feng and asked, do you believe it? I believe. I believe, just drink here, go back to sleep, and when VCD dominates the world, it will be our buddy's world. I don't think you believe it very much. Cow your head and worship the handle. Today, you must kowtow and worship the handle. Mr. Zheng was about to kneel on the ground as he spoke. It's okay to have the heart, the form doesn't matter. Lu Feng hurriedly pulled him up and said. He Tian also came over to drag his boss, and the two persuaded them to go downstairs, with Feng Xiao following behind him until he brought Mr. Zheng into the car and waved goodbye. Brother Feng, why did you tell him all the core technologies? Feng Xiao couldn't hold back. The core technology, as long as the machine is launched, it will not be a secret. I won't tell you for the time being. You have also rested for a while. You are busy with me for the past 2 days. Lu Feng looked at him and asked. Can you handle some daily contact work? No problem. Feng Xiao straightened his chest, showing that he was very confident, but he was not sure. Anything could happen around Lu Feng. That's good, drive back, Lu Feng said and walked towards the car. Mr. Zheng lowered the car window, sat in the back seat and lit a cigarette, letting the night wind blow his face and his hair fluttering in the wind. At this moment, a middle-aged man seemed to be a bit unrestrained, especially the one in his mouth. Smoke blew in the wind to the rear of the car. Mr. He. How do you feel? Zheng asked in a low voice. I think there should be no problem. Their set of tools is very executable, and it can be seen that Lu Cheng has a very skilled R/U0026D and design team. It is not easy to come up with such a set of plans in such a short period of time. He Tianxiang Liaoxiang gave a very high evaluation. Liukan has a bit of ability, and he has many excellent engineers. Especially this year, he is willing to spend money. In time, he will definitely be the first-class level in the industry. Lu Feng is really lucky. How can you say he is so lucky? The more he thought about it, the more angry he became. Zhu Lidong was under him, Zhang Fengxia was also very strong in management, and Lu Cheng used to be at Conca. The chief engineer sitting on the bench is actually so capable. He Tian didn't know how to answer, so he hesitated and said, maybe he is really lucky. We just can't do the sales channel. Sooner or later, I will let the vice president of marketing get out of the way. This year's budget has increased for him. If he can't achieve results, I have to open him. Mr. Zheng took a cigarette and threw the butt out of the window. Said, bring Zhu Lidong over next year. Don't people not come? He Tian drove in the driveway. The last time I had dinner, I charged such a high price. Let me tell you something, don't go out and say that GFN Electronics will definitely collapse this year. At that time, I will take a sum of money from Changhong and take over debt. Just swallow GFN Electronics and take over the top management. In a few years, I will be able to gain a foothold in China, and it will be no problem to enter the top 3. Mr. Zheng said to himself. He Tian didn't speak, but he could sense that Mr. Zheng's self-confidence was bursting recently, and he didn't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. For those who are capable, tossing around brings super rewards and class leaps. For those who are incompetent, tossing around is just tossing around. Mr. Zheng attributed the rapid development of GFN Electronics to the fact that there are a group of executives like Zhu Lidong around Lu Feng. As long as these people are brought under his command, he will welcome the dawn of victory. As everyone knows, the most valuable part of GFN Electronics is the management model. This management framework is like a fast screening machine, which will eliminate the incompetent people. At the same time, this model will limit the development of personal ability. Yes, it is to limit the development of people who are too good. It will let people with insufficient ability leave, and the elbows and involvement between various departments will strictly limit the development of excellent talents. What is prevented is that once a very good person appears, he controls the resources or capabilities of the entire department. The most taboo thing for big companies is that when the company is kidnapped by an individual, the entire company is like a tight-fitting machine, and the key to start the machine is in Lu Feng's hands. The car stopped in front of the house. Zhang Xiaoyan came out, smelled Lu Feng's body full of alcohol, and asked, "Have you been drinking?" "I didn't drink too much." Lu Feng got out of the car and introduced Zhang Xiaoyan, Feng Xiao, the investor's youngest son. "Hello, hello." Zhang Xiaoyan hurriedly stretched out her hand and shook it, and said politely, "Have you eaten yet? Come home and have a bite." Feng Xiao glanced at Zhang Xiaoyan, and then at Lu Feng, thinking to himself, "Brother Feng is really good at picking his wife, not worse than Sister Hong Kong." "Hello, sister-in-law," Feng Xiao shook hands and said, "I've eaten it. Go into the room for a drink, please, please." Zhang Xiaoyan said politely. "Come in and sit for a while." Lu Feng looked at him and said, "I will be squatting in the R/U0026D company from tomorrow until the product is offline in a week. There are a lot of things around me during this time, so just follow. I don't want to sit anymore, I'm going back." Feng Xiao and Zhang Xiaoyan said politely and got into the car. Back home, Lu Feng saw a pile of toys on the ground and asked, "How many?" "Sleep, it's the first grade in the summer, and the learning in the new semester is very difficult. When I came back, I cried and said I couldn't understand. I had already slept." "Take a shower and wake up," Zhang Xiaoyan said while supporting him. Most of Lu Feng leaned on her, took a deep breath and said, "It's really fragrant. Today I develop perfume, the factory's office is full of perfume, go and take a bath." After washing up, the two of them were lying on the bed, and Lu Feng kept leaning towards her. Zhang Xiaoyan couldn't help laughing when he saw him, and said, "What? Are you panicking after drinking some wine?" "A little bit," Lu Feng said in a not very honest manner. "Don't touch it. The mountains are closed to support the forests, and I won't be allowed to occupy the top of the mountain." "Seriously, sleep." Lu Feng put his head against her face and closed his eyes. After Mr. Zheng returned to the company, he hurried the R/U0026D department to restore the general drawings overnight. Their idea was to start selling the VCD of GFN Electronics within 10 days. In this way, the advertising effect of GFN Electronics in the early stage will allow them to take a lot of advantages. Early the next morning, Lu Feng drove to the R/U0026D company and watched the progress of the product, with Feng Xiao doing some assistant work beside him. On March 10, the noisy VCD from the beginning of the year finally landed. 1,000 units were released for the first time. Most of GFN Electronics executives gathered in the new factory in Dongguan. Today, reporters from major newspapers and TV stations came to report, and He Jiali also wanted to show his face, but Lu Feng didn't let him come. If he appeared in the newspapers, it would be too harmful to Mayor Wang. You must know that this place is now declared as a branch factory. The main factory area is in the industrial base of Hefei. The face belongs to Mayor Wang, and the lining belongs to Lu Feng. He Jiali was sulking while sitting in the office, but he felt aggrieved, but he paid the price of 30 million interest-free loan, and as a result, he didn't even have the chance to show his face. It was normal to feel uncomfortable. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Lu Feng looked at everyone in the conference room of the new factory and confirmed, "Is this one all right? Are they all designed according to the drawings?" "Mr. Liu, don't worry, Mr. Liu's people came to guide in person. There are only 1,000 units in total, and the quantity is not very large. I watched them one by one," the factory manager assured. "Okay, after such a long time of work, this day has finally come. There are many reporters outside, and all parties have always asked about the pricing. Now I will reveal one thing. The first machine of this 1,000 units is named Pioneer Edition, priced at 30,000 yuan per unit," Lu Feng said solemnly. As soon as this price came out, the audience was shocked. 30,000 yuan? This price is simply outrageous. Some people have guessed at 10,000 yuan, and some people have guessed at 8,000 yuan. No one dared to think about the price of 30,000 yuan. That's it for this short meeting. We'll go out to receive reporters first, and then the sale will be officially launched. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he stood up and walked outside. A lot of people were already around in front of the stage. Today's venue is very simple. Except for the reporters, there are a lot of people waiting to buy products. Except for very few people who especially like new things, they are all people from manufacturers. Then next, I would like to invite the chairman of GFN Electronics. Mr. Lu Feng will now announce the price that everyone is looking forward to. Everyone is welcome. The host took the lead in applauding. There was sparse applause at the scene. Lu Feng stepped onto the stage, cleared his throat, and said, "I believe everyone has read a lot of reports during this time, and some people who like it have even been watching the progress, and today it is finally going to be released. See you all. I believe that if you really like it, and understand its significance and progress in domestic technology, you will understand that this is not something that money can measure. But today we have to put money on this priceless, epoch-making product." Lu Feng glanced down and said solemnly, "The price of each unit is 30,000. 30,000. There was an uproar in the audience. This price exceeded everyone's expectations. Many manufacturers gave them a maximum budget of only 10,000 yuan. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 516. 1,000 VCDs piled up together into a hill, and everyone at the scene fried the pot. The price is simply outrageous. I want to ask President Liu, is this the price after listing? A reporter asked Lu Feng. This is the Pioneer version. The price will be adjusted after the official launch. After all, the quantity is large, Lu Feng replied. Is this price too expensive? We know that many domestic technology enthusiasts like this technology very much and think it is a major breakthrough in this country. Will such an expensive price chill the heart that is eagerly looking forward to it? It's too different from GFN Electronics' strategy of low prices and closeness to the people, another reporter asked. As I said, the price will be adjusted after the listing. Don't be picky. Since you want to enjoy the changes brought about by technology at the first time, you must bear the due price. Lu Feng knows that some reporters are just looking for something. Yes, he hurriedly waved his hand and said, that's all to answer. After stepping off the stage, Feng Xiao came over to help block the reporter, and asked in a low voice, Brother Feng, isn't it too tricky to do this? Lu Feng glanced at the crowd. Everyone was crowded in a few public phone booths not far away, waiting to make a call. He snorted coldly, hit. I can't kill them. There is a big pit behind the small pit. Shit pit, rest assured, the game has just begun. In the phone booth, a young man with snarky eyes said to the phone, hey, the price has been announced here. It costs 30,000 yuan for a set. The money is not enough. Do you want to buy it? After a while, Mr. Zhang, Mr. Li, and Mr. Ho received the news that the Golden Leopard VCD Pioneer Edition under GFN Electronics was priced as high as 30,000 yuan per unit. At this price, even Li Quanliang gasped after hearing it, "It's so humming expensive. Is he crazy? It's so expensive," Li Quanliang frowned. The price was obviously forcing them to buy. They knew that Lu Feng had already guessed their next move. Mr. Zhang called Li Quanliang and told him about it. "I don't think it's necessary to buy it. It won't be too late to buy it after it is officially listed in a few days. Besides, the basic motherboard looks are already there. We are already one step ahead," Li Quanliang pondered and said. "I also think that Chang Hong doesn't buy it, right? If you don't buy it, then I won't buy it." "This is obviously cheating," Mr. Zhang said firmly. The bosses of major companies were talking to each other on the phone, and they said very angrily on the phone that they must resist this kind of cheating behavior. "Joke. Hang up the phone." Mr. Zhang sighed. A supervisor stood across the table and asked, "Mr. Zhang, let's not buy it." "How can you not buy it? Everyone has to eat this dumb loss. It's 30,000 yuan. As long as 100 units are sold, Lu Feng will be able to slaughter the major manufacturers first." Mr. Zhang grinned angrily and muttered, "A damning word. Notify me, buy it, and get the machine back for me as soon as possible." Mr. Zhang thought for a while, then called He Tian and asked him to come to the office. A few minutes later, He Tian walked in and asked, "Is the machine back?" "Not yet. Is it okay to buy one back?" Mr. Zhang asked. "One, could it be?" He Tian Wei, "Mr. Zhang, we'd better buy 10 and come back. Not only do we have to disassemble and study, but we also have to do some simple voltage tests. If one is burned, we can continue to do it with others. Once there is a failure, causing the R/U0026D to be delayed, it is very troublesome." 10. The main pipe next to him, "Mr. He, this machine is very expensive." "The cost is not high, how expensive can it be?" He Tian had already made plans for Lu Feng in his heart. The cost was more than 3,000 yuan, and the listed price was only 7,000 or 8,000 yuan. 130,000. "My Nima, is this too expensive?" He Tian was shocked. Within an hour, none of them were sold. Lu Feng and his group sat in a room not far from the door, looking out the window through the glass. Zhang Fengxia saw those people standing there motionless. The reporter kept interviewing these people and said, "Tomorrow we will definitely be the headlines. I'm afraid that we won't be able to sell one today. It's really embarrassing. It's too late to cut prices now." Feng Xiao sighed. Zhu Lidong saw that Lu Feng didn't speak, and he could feel that Lu Feng had the confidence to let these people swallow high-priced things. A few minutes later, a car drove over and handed a bag to a man. After the man got the bag, he walked to the sales office and said, "I'll buy 3. Sold. Really sold." Then another person walked to the sales office, carried a bag and said, "I want 5. With the money in place, more and more people gathered around the sales office, and the sales were booming in an instant. When Lu Feng saw this scene, he could already imagine how Li Quanliang and Mr. Zheng's group were gnashing their teeth. A smile appeared on his face. Where is this going? Since VCD is the life-saving straw of GFN Electronics, Lu Feng will never let this straw be damaged. At noon, more than 300 units have been sold, and the money back is tens of millions. This kind of operation is absolutely unique in the history of the product. Those companies that are eyeing VCD are now suffocating in their hearts. If Lu Feng is not defeated, the money will not be returned with a 100-fold return, and they will not be able to solve their hatred. At noon, a simple celebration party was held, and the Golden Leopard VCD officially started mass production. At the same time, the long-prepared publicity, advertising, and other aspects will also be launched today. Starting tomorrow, All sales channels and stores of GFN Electronics will display the promotional posters of the Golden Leopard VCD. The factory in Dongguan will give priority to the production of VCD, and the monthly fixed output will reach 600,000 to 700,000 units. The products that were purchased at a high price were sent to the R/U0026D departments of major companies as soon as possible. These machines were disassembled, and all engineers found a few problems with the circuit lines. With the arrival of the machine, Li Quanliang basically stayed in the R/U0026D department, and major companies were stepping up their time to imitate them, but they were not sure about these lines, and did not dare to change them rashly. Only Mr. Zheng had seen the original design draft, and Li Quanliang called him, hoping to learn more from him. How many lines? Let me tell you, there is absolutely no problem. I took my chief engineer there at the time. These lines can be further reduced. We have done tests in the past 2 days, and there is absolutely no problem. Mr. Zheng clapped his chest and assured, and reminded, Mr. Li, you can't tell other manufacturers about this. If you reduce it, you can save more than 10 yuan. Don't worry, I will never talk about this, President Li assured. The eyes of all companies are on this line. The more mysterious the big companies keep and treat this as an absolute trade secret, the more other companies think that there are key things in it. As major companies inquired about each other and spent money on insiders, in less than half a month, Mr. Zheng successfully led all the companies away. In half a month, the production of VCD has been on the right track, and the goods have been delivered to major distributors, and they have begun to push the goods into the first-line stores. The retail price of the terminal is set at 3,980. David TV started bombing advertisements, and billboards also appeared in the streets and alleys. Lu Feng was very clear about the positioning of VCD, that is, the necessities of marriage. At the same time, in terms of marketing, he strives to match the ordinary price and high-end life. On the posters of major stores, Lu Feng put Zhang Wanmen's photo on it to promote the authority and authenticity of the product. As the first batch of goods was put on the shelves, it was sold out within 3 hours, and even scalpers began to sell at higher prices. On March 25, all channels were fully supplied, and the factory's production capacity was approaching its limit, producing 25,000 per day. Thousands. However, the market is still hot, and many places are out of stock. The highest single-day sales are 30,000 units, breaking the daily sales data of the home appliance industry in one fell swoop. The overall profit is still in a state of loss. Such a crazy market is enough to see that the gap is very large, and it is impossible for major companies not to be jealous, but even to prevent piracy, it is necessary to redesign the shape, understand the circuit and internal structure, and then conduct short-term experiments after building it yourself. 100 million. 100 million, Mr. Zheng looked at the single-day payment data given by GFN Electronics in front of him. His eyes were no longer red, but almost green. 100 million a day, what speed is this? Even if you invest 50 million in the early stage, according to the 8% profit point, the profit is close to 10 million in one day, and the money will be paid back in 5 days. It's fast. The executive on the side said, the reason why the sales are so hot is because he is the only one in the market, and this kind of sales scene won't last long. What do you mean? Of course I know. Mr. Zheng grabbed his hair with his hand. He saw that GFN Electronics was about to fall, and now it was back on its feet in an instant. Entry must be accelerated, Mr. Zheng said with a gloomy expression. Mr. Zheng, the test has not been completed yet, He Tian reminded. Are you still experimenting with a hammer? After you've finished the experiment, GFN Electronics has become the leader of the domestic electronics industry. We can't wait any longer, and our price is cheaper than his. I feel that other companies can't sit still these days. Mr. Zheng thought for a moment, then said solemnly, is the leather bag company ready? It's already ready. Production will start today, and the sale will start within 3 days. The price is set at 3,580. The profit of our single product is more than 200. This is pure profit. Mr. Zheng told his subordinates, we must speed up, go. This scene was staged in major companies at the same time. The data released by Lu Feng was really exciting. They couldn't wait for such a long experiment. Although it took 10 days and a half months at most, they still couldn't wait. The market for VCD is actually not big, and many people are watching. The problem is that only one company exports products, which is equivalent to a monopoly. The production volume of more than 20,000 units per day is distributed in 8 provinces, and each store sells it. There are not many people who go there, but they gather together like a mighty river. Once others enter the market will quickly saturate, and then a crazy price war will unfold. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 517. The astronomical price of 30,000 yuan for the Pioneer Edition has been raging in major media. Some people claim that this is a technological monopoly, and GFN Electronics should be investigated. Others say that the absolute market creates absolute arrogance, and this phenomenon must be broken. Criticisms of GFN Electronics have sprung up like mushrooms after a rain. Lu Feng reads newspapers every day, and it is basically clear at a glance who is planning behind these newspapers. The public opinion war has started, and many elites in the industry have smelled a different taste. In the Suzhou factory, Lu Feng was sitting in the conference room, and everyone at the scene was full of smiles. In less than a month, VCD has brought a very considerable effect to GFN Electronics. 4-2. Feng Xiao sat next to Lu Feng and acted as an assistant. He communicated with his father a lot these days. According to the current development, investing in GFN Electronics is indeed a very promising thing. Let's all smile. Lu Feng looked at everyone and said, we did get a good start. The highest single-day sales exceeded 30,000. I had to pour a pot of cold water. This market is still very small. In terms of the videotape market, it's less than 5%. Feng Xiao sat on the side and heard this, and felt that something was not right. At present, the Golden Leopard VCD has occupied a dominant position in the market, and the market recognition is very high. Brother Feng, I think this market needs time to expand. The sales of Golden Leopard VCD have already taken hold. Even if someone comes in behind, it will be difficult to shake. Feng Xiao put forward his own ideas. The people present nodded one after another. Even Zhu Lidong felt that, although the major manufacturers kept making small moves, he recently heard that several companies are going to be produced and listed under the name of some new companies, but he still believes that the Golden Leopard occupies the main body of the market. Since everyone thinks they've stood up, it's better to wait a few days and see. Seeing that they were so confident, Lu Feng just smiled, and the market would give them a slap in the face. Let's talk about the current situation first. First of all, the legal department has recently moved me. What I will face in the next day is that there will be endless lawsuits, and I need to read more about intellectual property rights. If you are too busy, go out to hire a lawyer. Team, the first wave of pirates is coming. Strengthen market promotion, and let the concept of only genuine golden leopards be deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Recently, the brand image department should also pay attention to control the comments that are not conducive to us. At the same time, in terms of entertainment stars, we must learn to guide fans. Products are stuffed in, so don't have a budget for this. Lu Feng could see that everyone present was very excited. The sales data was too explosive. The turnover of hundreds of millions in a single day was enough to overwhelm the minds of all private enterprises in China. However, Lu Feng saw a deeper sense of crisis. Such achievements will accelerate some people who were not planning to enter the industry to invest, because everyone sees this as an outlet. Over the years, Lu Feng has known a truth. When everyone thinks that they can make money, it must be the most profitable beginning of the industry. Some time ago, he was still pondering that if the sales data were not released to the public, this situation would happen slowly, and it might last for 3 to 5 years. In the past 3 or 5 years, people will continue to rush in to disrupt the situation. For GFN Electronics, it is a very long-term torture. The market can't stand such a toss, so he decided that the long-term pain is worse than the short-term pain, and after sending the sales data, stimulate the market. Even characters like Li Quanliang and President Zheng were red-eyed, let alone some ordinary people. In a private room of a hotel, a young man of 26 or 7 was sitting, his face flushed as he drank, and next to him was a middle-aged man who was currently working as a middle-level manager at Konka. "Mr. Zhao, let me tell you, this VCD can definitely make money. It's crazy, it's not to buy things, but to rob." The young man gestured with his hands and said, "Have you seen President Liu?" Mr. Zhao coughed with a little pretentiousness, "I have seen it, I often eat. Last time I was at a dinner party in Shenzhen, I toasted me." "Really? You are really amazing. Let me tell you, this person's story is really inspiring. He is my idol. It's absolutely not bad to follow the idol." The young man hiccuped and said, he started a canning workshop at that time, focusing on the local market. "Now I get VCD, assemble it and sell it locally, and it will definitely make a profit." The idea of an idol is very clear. Yes, TVs, VCDs, radios, these include the entertainment appliances in most people's homes. "Well, work hard, I'm optimistic about you. It's this motherboard, can you make the price cheaper?" the young man said. "I don't have much money on hand now. You can give me more goods for the motherboard, okay? The main board is very nervous. I also make some money quietly. I don't dare to do too much work in the warehouse. There are only 100 units per month," Mr. Zhao said firmly. The young man was not discouraged, and raised the glass to toast Mr. Zhao. He told himself in his heart that the business had to come step by step, and one day he would rely on his hard-working hands and wisdom to become bigger and stronger. Of course, the Smith team paid close attention to the booming sales of VCD in China. Some foreign media focused on Lu Feng, who was Lu Feng's first show in foreign media. Jiao Anfan was also stunned when he read the newspaper. He had heard of Lu Feng's name a lot on Wall Street recently. Smith's team went to invest and killed him. "There is huge market potential here," Jiao Anfan muttered while looking at the newspaper. The high-end Anfan TV has made him notorious on Wall Street. After returning, he can only be a manager at ease, responsible for selling options, funds, and other products, but his heart is never quiet, and the fire of anger in his heart has always been burning roaringly. He still has a relationship in China. After thinking about it, he finally called the general manager of Konka. "Who is it?" the other end of the phone asked. "It's me, Jiao Anfan. How is uncle recently?" Jiao Anfan asked politely. "That's it, what's the matter? Want to come back?" The other end of the phone seemed to have guessed what he was thinking, and said with a smile, "Recently, GFN Electronics Golden Leopard VCD has been turned upside down, with a single-day sales of over 100 million yuan. I don't know how many people have red eyes. Do you still understand me? I just want to ask, is there a chance?" Smith's team has always been brooding about the failure of investing in VCD. "If I go back to China to do it, I will definitely get a large amount of investment." Jiao Anfan is very self-confident. There will be big changes in the near future. Let's take a look. Major companies have put on the shell of leather bag companies, and they are already producing in private. In the past 2 days, there will be a lot of cheap pirated products on the market. I guess it will be directly destroy the existing market. Breakdown? It could not be better. Will GFN Electronics go bankrupt? Jiao Anfan gritted his teeth. It's possible, so I'll let you look at it first. The market will undergo a wave of baptism, and then it will run in a more orderly manner. It's not too late to come back at that time, the other party said. It is good. Xiao Unfan's face was solemn, how he walked out in a state of embarrassment, and now he will return with 10 times the scenery. If Lu Feng knew that Xiao Unfan was going to come back with funds, he would definitely applaud him with a smile. This person has a particularly good advantage, that is, if he doesn't take money from the Chinese, he will use Wall Street's money to give him back, even if he is awarded a patriotic award. The prize is not too much. Large-scale enterprises are producing frantically, and some small and medium-sized enterprises are also producing frantically. In the black market, a VCD motherboard drawing has been fired to a sky-high price, and many people still buy it. At the end of March, the weather in the north began to warm up. The 2 storefronts below the trade city changed people, and there was a sign at the door, which read the Leopard VCD, only 3,500. In less than 2 days, all kinds of leopards came out across the country. Some were called Dalmatians, and they were even called Golden Leopard VCD. They even copied their names. Lu Feng was sitting in the office dealing with daily affairs. During this time, with the popularity of VCD, he was invited to attend more and more events, and more people wanted to get closer to him. There are also many people who come to visit directly. The chairman isn't there, why are you like this? Don't you understand? Why did you break in without an appointment? A female clerk stopped a man in his 40s. I'm always friends with Lu, and we have a good relationship. The middle-aged man carried a bag in his hand, took out 3 banknotes and stuffed them into the female clerk, and whispered, "Be accommodating. I really can't take it, or else the job will be gone." Feng Xiao pushed open the door and glanced at it, and asked, "What's wrong?" The clerk's hand that originally wanted to receive the money was taken back like an electric shock, squeezed out a smile and said, "This person wants to see President Lu." The middle-aged man took advantage of the gap between the clerk's turn to speak, stepped forward and pushed the door of Lu Feng's office open, stepped in, saw Lu Feng, and hurried forward, saying, "Mr. Lu, I can see you, you are my idol, I just want to see you, and today is finally a dream come true." The clerk chased in and said to Lu Feng, "Mr. Lu, this person is trying to break in." Lu Feng waved his hand to indicate that she could go out, and looked at the man in front of him. He was about 1.7 meters tall, with a big belly, fat head, and ears. The top of his head was a little bald, and his eyes were small, showing the cunning and philistine of an adult. "Hello, is something wrong?" Lu Feng asked. "Mr. Lu, let me introduce myself. Although I am older than you, I admire you very much. There are so many people in the business world. I will obey you. I am the chairman of, the motherboard is the PCB board. I know you have a partner now, but I can give you a free trial. The most important thing is, I adore you, really." Lu Feng nodded. A man in his 40s told himself that he admired himself. Just listen to him. "You also said that we now have stable partners, and we can cooperate if there is a chance," Lu Feng said politely. "Mr. Lu, I can have a very low price, and our factory is very large and our productivity is very high. We can also OEM for some basic circuit printing. Give me a chance to try it out. I'll ask you for a quick meal." "Eat," he said rudely. Let's go, give me a chance, it's my honor to eat with people like you." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 518. Lu Feng refused again and again. He is now on the cusp of a storm, and a little movement might make headlines. What's the heat? Heat is money, right? A few days ago, a few people came and said they liked Lu Feng very much. They wanted to take a photo with him, but they were thrown out by Lu Feng. There are all kinds of liars these days. What are you going to do with your photos? Can he fall for that? You don't need to eat. If you have anything, just say it here. As for the supply of the motherboard, we can consider it. When the time comes, let the purchaser take a look, Lu Feng said politely. Mr. Lu, I really admire you. I want to give you some equity in the company and join the big family of GFN Electronics. As long as you nod your head, I will go through the formalities tomorrow, the man said excitedly. You're very welcome, let's develop well, and jointly add luster to the domestic electronics industry. I'm a little busy. Let's meet again when I have time. Lu Feng was ready to see off the guests. Mr. Lu, let's take a photo together. I brought the camera. The man took out a camera. I don't like taking pictures, so don't worry. Lu Feng hurriedly stood up to stop him from taking pictures. I've finally seen you, so I have to think about it. Just take a picture. The man stood up and was about to call someone in to help. I really don't like taking pictures. Lu Feng lowered his face and said, you can leave your business card, and I will give you my business card too. Okay, I have a dinner party in 2 days, all of them are high-class people. I hope you can attend. As long as you come, it will definitely add glory. The man looked at Lu Feng with some pleading eyes. I'll check the time, I'll go there when I have time, we'll see you later. Okay. Lu Feng opened the office door and said politely, slow down. The man sighed and said a little discouraged, you must come, I really adore you and am your fan. Okay. Lu Feng watched him go out and said to Feng Xiao in the next office, stop someone, how many people have rushed in these days? There are too many people looking for. Feng Xiao said helplessly, you are too popular. There are many popular people, and the single-day sales of over 100 million successfully made GFN Electronics become popular. Major media reported it one after another, and it became an idol for many people in the industry. These people are like the popularity of internet celebrities, they keep coming to Lu Feng, and basically they want to attend some dinner parties. Either it's a group photo. As for what kind of dinner this kind of dinner is, I really don't know. Lu Feng knew very well that the more he was on the cusp of the storm, the more low-key he needed to be. Otherwise, no one would know who was betrayed. The most important thing these days are smart people. The way he deceived people in the early years is now a common method. Recently, the electronics industry has been very busy. Everyone is inquiring about the news of VCD, and they want to get a piece of the pie, especially Lu Feng. Many business brokers have also made a meal with Mr. Lu, and they even have to pay when they go to dinner. These people paid the money, ate the meal, waited left and right and couldn't wait for Lu Feng, so they called the police when they were angry. And everyone said that they were Lu Feng's brothers, iron buddies, and even some who had eaten with Lu Feng several times, such as Mr. Hong and Mr. Wang from Shenzhen, and a lot of other bosses, selling the host under the name of Lu Feng, motherboard, materials, etc. Back in the office, Lu Feng took a look at the business card left by the middle-aged man on the table. It said Chairman of Lijiao Materials, Liang Lijiao. He casually threw the business card in the drawer and continued busy with his own business. According to Zhu Lidong's report, piracy has increased significantly in the past 2 days, and with the sale of the machine, the content has begun to be stretched. After the user buys it back, he will read the CD-ROM given as a gift, and there are no other CD-ROMs available on the market. Many movies, songs, and dance songs have been recorded. The problem is that many people don't like these kinds of CDs. After 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the phone on the table rang, and Lu Feng picked it up and said, "Which one?" "It's me," Su Yurong's voice came from the other end of the phone. "I have already met your vice president, and the money has been called in the name of investment, and the money will be returned within 2 days. "No problem, are things going well?" Lu Feng asked. "It's all right, She went to Australia for a vacation. I heard that there are a few foreign girls there, and I'm not needed for the time being. During this time, she was very relieved of me. She arranged a few vice presidents by my side, all of which were taken by me. Down. Take it? How to take it? Lu Feng asked curiously. Don't use your dirty thoughts to speculate on me, okay? With money, with future promises, what else can you use? Even men are interested in me. Aren't you also interested? Su Yorong side tone. The bank has established a relationship. The stock price is relatively low recently. I will buy some first. That's good. You look at the operation, and according to the requirements of the Hong Kong stock market, buy a large number of stocks, and raise your placard when it exceeds 5% of the total equity. You should open a few more accounts to avoid this, so as not to be detected, Lu Feng told it. I see, I will pay attention to this aspect. Hang up first. By the way, when are you coming here? Su Yorong asked. Why do you ask this? I just want to see you, okay? Let's talk when I go. Lu Feng asked a few words and hung up the phone, sitting there thinking that it would be better for him to rarely see her. Picking up the phone, he called Wei Yandan and told him about it. Finally, Lu Feng reminded him, don't tell anyone about this, including President Zhang, you know. Don't worry, I know. Wei Yandan hung up the phone with a smile on her face. This matter was handed over to herself, enough to see that she had entered the inner circle of President Liu. The circle is very important. For people in the circle, some news can be easily heard, and for people outside the circle, it is top secret. This is also a lot of people trying their best to go to the camp, wanting to stand in the same circle with some big bosses. In fact, they don't want anything, they just want the latest news. People will say, you go slowly and catch up. Here is the opportunity to make a lot of money. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng flipped through yesterday's sales report. The market was still hot, but he didn't know how long this excessive heat would last. The latest situation could not be seen from the report. Lu Feng closed the report, stood up and walked out the door. He greeted Feng Xiao in the office next to him, and drove out. Where are you going? Feng Xiao asked in the co-pilot. Go for a walk around the market. Lu Feng drove out of the factory area and headed straight to the electronic hypermarket in the city center. Now every city will have a concentrated electronic area, which is similar to Zhongguancun in essence, but smaller in scale. With the development of the electronic industry this year, domestic electronic products have taken shape. Big, now on the counters. At the same time, the price of Hangxian's pagers also ushered in a big dive. After some industrial hardware kept up, the industrial manufacturing cost of pagers was greatly reduced, from 6,000 or 7,000 in the 1990s, all the way down to the current 3,000. This is the pace of domestic industrial development in the past 3 years. The private enterprises represented by Lu Feng can come out, not relying on a GFN Electronics' own supply chain, but a large number of enterprises have carried out industrial upgrading. As long as one's own industrial foundation is strong, the prices of foreign-funded products in the market will naturally drop. At the gate of the mall, a huge arch reads "The Golden Leopard VCD is on sale," and the billboard outside is also posted with Mr. Jiang's photo for publicity. Entering the gate of the mall, the first counter is GFN Electronics, with all kinds of products on display. Lu Feng asked a clerk, "Is there any more VCD?" "It's sold out today, and you can buy it after restocking tomorrow. We are very close to the manufacturer. If you're afraid that you won't be able to buy it, you can make a deposit today and I'll keep it for you," the clerk said. "No need." Lu Feng walked to the side. Just 2 steps away, a young man came up and asked, "Brother, do you want to buy VCD? I have it, the price is cheap." "Is it the Golden Leopard?" Lu Feng asked. "We are Golden Leopards. They are all the same." They are produced by one manufacturer, but not the same brand. You can rest assured that you will be fine after you buy them. If not, you can ask me to return them. My name is Xiao Lu, please come here. Xiao Lu. As he spoke, he had already pulled Lu Feng's arm. Brother, do you want to buy VCD? Take a look here, another person greeted. Don't pay attention to him, it's all defective products, and it was beaten in the morning. We have guaranteed quality here, and it's from a big manufacturer. Xiao Lu led Lu Feng to a counter to watch. Feng Xiao glanced around and found that there were 6 VCD sellers in the counter on the first floor, and 2 stores outside the door were selling VCD with different brands. As long as you ask if it is from GFN Electronics, all of them will be sloppy. This is the best we sell. Xiao Lu took out a VCD and put it on the table to introduce it. Lu Feng took a look and found that the basic structure is similar, and even part of the appearance and color are plagiarized. The only difference is that the quality of the casing has been reduced, and it is not so hard to squeeze. How much is this? Lu Feng asked. Brother, he sells 3,980 over there, we only need 3,580 for this. I won't fool you, I won't lie to you, because I'm going to get off work soon, and I also have performance pressure. Let's sell it for 3,005. You can buy a good deal, and I can do business too. What do you think? Xiao Liu's mouth is very articulate. Okay, then I'll buy it. Lu Feng took money from his pocket and asked casually, do we have a lot of stock here? I tell you, these merchants are really black in order to make money. Some of them are goods, but they don't sell them, and people rob them. We are all goods from one family, and we also go to the factory to buy goods, and they are all honest and honest. Businessman, if you don't make your money, there will be a lot of goods in the factory. Xiao Lu said and wrapped the VCD. Lu Feng took it and asked, how many warehouses do you have? Our warehouse is estimated to have 10,000 units. It just arrived today, and the others are not lower than this number. Did you see that the golden leopard can't sell anymore? It was sold out at 12 noon yesterday, and it's sold today. I've only bought it now. Do you really think people are fools? Xiao Lu smiled, took out a cigarette from his pocket and handed it to Lu Feng. Brother, you smoke. I don't smoke. Lu Feng waved his hand and refused. With such a large amount of stockpiles, it seems that those manufacturers have already exerted all their strength, and the market crash is just around the corner. It may be a day or a week. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 519. Lu Feng walked out of the mall and wandered around, asking about the stocks of other stores. There will be a large batch of goods in place tomorrow. Back in the car, Lu Feng sat in the back seat, smashed the VCD he bought, and took out the motherboard inside. What is it for? Feng Xiao wondered. Lu Feng stared at the circuit of the motherboard for a while and grinned, and handed the motherboard to Feng Xiao. Feng Xiao looked at it for a while, and said in surprise, wrong version? All of them produced the wrong version. I don't know how many manufacturers are producing them now. These blueprints have been sold like crazy on the black market. This is the second pit I prepared for them. Lu Feng pursed his lips and laughed. If a large amount of production is hoarded, ready to smash the market and stand firm, this loss will be too heavy. We can continue to produce, and it is estimated that we can occupy the market for a period of time. Feng Xiao was happy and said happily, this time difference is enough to make the golden leopard. Stand firm. Lu Feng nodded and said, however, we must avoid its edge these 2 days, and reduce production first, so as not to have too much inventory and consume capital flow. Such a large-scale production, there must be a lot of raw material processing manufacturers behind it. When the market is large enough, there will be very scary competitiveness. When you see that the finished product has formed an involution in the first market, then the second market must have become a white-hot level. Competition in the second echelon will lead to a drop in supplier prices, which is also a benefit. Feng Xiao thought about it for a while. These words just corresponded to the tertiary market, the material market, the processing market, and the finished product market, which he learned about. One wave drives another wave, and they are linked together. The rise of initial materials will lead to the rise of the material processing market, which will then affect the market. Finished product. If there is a huge stagflation in the secondary market, and the front-end market cannot digest it, price competition will form. As long as the spilled materials cannot be consumed, the finished product market will not be affected by the price fluctuations of the initial materials. Go back, Lu Feng said to Feng Xiao, don't be silly. Brother Feng, let me ask you something, that is, taking 300 million now, can you get 5 points of original equity in Feng Electronics? Feng Xiao tentatively looked at Lu Feng through the rearview mirror. What are you dreaming about? Do you understand financing? If I take 300 million yuan and give me 5 more points of original equity, your father won't kill me? Who would dare to invest in me in the future? Lu Feng said angrily. You go to school. What did you learn? I went back to discuss it with my dad. He told me to give me a sum of money to invest in, and I want to invest in you now. Feng Xiao smiled and said, Brother Feng, I think you are quite short of money. The companies, there are a lot of holes, and there are still 200 million to be paid back in June. Yup. There are also 200 million in the bank. I'll solve it for you, Feng Xiao said hurriedly. I don't care at all, am I short of the 200 million? Lu Feng looked at him and said, you really should know more about the current policies of the mainland. The 200 million is not repaid. Who can do what to me? Dare to let me? Am I going bankrupt? It's not me, it's the bank, it's the municipality. Ah, Feng Xiao was also taken aback. He didn't expect Lu Feng to be so calm and asked, what if the bank confiscates the collateral? The factory building is gone, and our side will go bankrupt and liquidate once it is confiscated. If he dares to confiscate me, he dares to stop production. You don't understand. The industry in Xiangjiang has developed, and the place is too small to say that a palm is big, a place the size of a fingernail, and a person with a big fart. There are only a few people in total. District, there is no internal competition, the mainland is different. You look at those cities, every city is covered with black hats, and everyone climbs up with red eyes. I can't say the same. They are all promising officials with goals to strive for. In the future, keep a little in mind when making investments. The more you can fool around, the more you want to invest in the train in your mouth. Do you understand, Lu Feng educated? Shouldn't we invest in practical ones? There are industries with development prospects. Feng Xiao wondered. Your father asked you to follow me, which is his best return on investment. I will teach you a trick. An industry has development prospects. There may be 100 companies in this industry, and one of them can succeed. Are you sure that your investment is so accurate? So if you want to invest in something that can fool you, you invest 10 million in it, and if he turns his head, he can trick another to come in and invest 30 million. When you enter the third round of investment, if you see that the wind is not right, you will withdraw, and you will still make a profit. There is a saying in the investment world that the first person to rush in is a reckless man, and the second person to rush in is a fool. Lu Feng lectured while leaning on the back seat. What about the third one? It's leaks. Feng Xiao. The leather bag company under Mr. Zheng's name is already producing frantically, and the goods have been piled up to the front line of the market, and the goods are pushed out with the help of major distribution channels, wholesale, etc. There are many manufacturers of such mass production. For example, the factory under Zheng's name is called True Golden Leopard. In order to produce VCD, Zheng has squandered all the profits from last year. If the market explodes, then rely on this to make money. If everyone can't sell it, GFN Electronics will go bankrupt, and he will embezzle funds from Changhong to acquire it. Such a clever risk hedging is what he wants. Hey, Mr. Li, Mr. Zheng leaned back on the chair and said with a smile on his face, the market channels are almost ready. The sales of Golden Leopard have slowed down a lot in the past 2 days, and their goods can't be spread in some places. Then it's time for us to make money. The market may be saturated these days, but I think there should be no problem selling 10,000 units a day. Mr. Li pondered, this business is like playing mahjong, I can play cards, and I can't let the right homeless. I heard that Jiao Anfan wants to come back. It's not easy now. It's all bullshit. Now that so many manufacturers are producing VCDs privately, the competition will be extremely fierce. First defeat GFN Electronics, and then turn around and deal with other manufacturers, Li Quanliang instructed. No problem, I'll follow you, as long as GFN Electronics collapses, you lend me a loan to buy it, VCD doesn't matter, really, Zheng Zonghao said proudly. The more they talked, the happier they were, and success was in sight. At present, the main area of the VCD market is still the south, and the northern market will take time and the transportation cost is very high. Panda, TCL, Konka and other manufacturers are also following up on this matter. Panda has experienced the glory of the 1980s and thought it was a second-tier old factory, but after this incident, this old factory was completely defeated. Collapsed. Lu Feng returned to the factory and immediately called Zhang Fengxia for a meeting. At present, Zhu Lidong is still running the market outside, focusing on publicity, and Wei Yandan is also busy with entertainment and publicity. Inside the office, Zhang Fengxia stepped on her high heels and walked in, looked at Lu Feng and asked, "What are you doing out?" "Look for the little girl." Lu Feng looked up at her and said, "Are you a surveillance?" "I'm just asking, why did you call me here?" "Miss me?" Zhang Fengxia laughed and raised her eyebrows. "Sister Xiao Yan won't let you touch it, can't you hold back?" Lu Feng's face sank, and he shouted, "Facing a serious boss like me, can you not be so frivolous?" Zhang Xiao Yan couldn't help but burst into laughter and said, "There's no one else here, what are you pretending to be a serious person? I haven't talked to you for a long time. I'm here to talk to you about work, understand?" Lu Feng looked at her and said, "Don't be joking and deduct your salary like this. If you deduct my money, I'll look for Sister Xiao Yan. Why are you always serious with me? There's no one else here, and I'm doing a good job. You pretend to be a leader by showing me your face." Zhang Fengxia moved the chair, sat forward and said, "You did it on purpose, you pulled your face when you saw me." "We are in a superior-subordinate relationship," Lu Feng emphasized. "I didn't say that we are in a romantic relationship, just friends. The relationship is a little closer, but the way you are acting now is that you hate me, except for work and chatting for a while, can't you? I also want to know about you." Life. The smile on Zhang Fengxia's face disappeared. "Notify the Dongguan factory that starting tomorrow, when there is a lot of inventory, reduce production as appropriate to ensure 1/10 of the daily sales in the current market," Lu Feng ordered. "Understood, I'll call to inform you later, and now I'm talking about attitude, do you hate me?" Zhang Fengxia asked. "Don't talk about this. You said, if you hate me, I'll leave. I promise not to laugh with you in the future. You can find someone who takes over from my class, and I'll leave after handing over the work." Zhang Fengxia's eyes were red, and she choked. "You said. Look at you, isn't this forcing me?" Lu Feng wondered. "Then what do you mean by always making a straight face with me? How much money do I make from you? I don't have a place to go, right? I've been working with you since that small broken factory, every time you give me something like this face." A tear overflowed from the eye socket. "We're just at work. I can't talk about life, I eat people. I have no credit and hard work, right? I'm a woman. During this time, I worked 15 hours a day. Yesterday I held 9 meetings. When the VCD work was handed over, the majors I negotiated with material dealers, I talked to 17 companies in one day at most, and my high heels had worn off a layer of foundation. I just want a little preference, just a little bit. You called me here today, I'm so happy. I thought you could talk nonsense with me for a while, and you just straightened my face when you walked in the door. Ugh. Zhang Fengxia couldn't hold it any longer and began to cry. Lu Feng watched her cry on his desk. Many men couldn't handle the intensity of this work. He reached out and patted her on the back to comfort her. My fault. What are you doing by patting the back? This is to comfort people. Hold it, Zhang Fengxia choked. Lu Feng walked out of the desk, reached out and patted her shoulder, and said, how about I give you 2 days off to take a good rest? No need. Zhang Fengxia raised her head and wiped her tears with her hands, and said, you only need to have a good face, just ask for that, or I really don't want to do it. Don't worry, I'll change it, Lu Feng hurriedly agreed. Hey, Zhang Fengxia burst into laughter as she looked at Lu Feng and said, you also have times when you are wrong. You looked like a fool just now. You still care a lot.